Sponsoring this episode of 50 Shades of Motherhood today is me and myself. So aside from doing this podcast, I also have a business called My Bump to Baby, and My Bump to Baby is one of the UK's leading parenting platforms. I launched My Bump to Baby as a blog back in 2016, and I did this on a shoestring budget. I was on maternity leave and I didn't want to go back to work full time. That's the long and short of it. I learned everything there was to know about blogging, and now thousands of parents visit my website every single day, and I earn an incredible income through my blog as a result. The great thing about blogging is that you can work in your own time and at your own pace, and the sky is literally your limit when it comes to growing your income through blogging. The great thing about blogging is I now can enjoy my life doing whatever I want during the day, and parents are automatically finding my blog through search engines, generating me an income whilst I am busy enjoying life. If you love the idea of launching your own passive income blog, you can access my course in the link below. This is where I share all of my secrets on the blogging formula to success. If you would like access to all of my training, all of my email templates, all of my checklists, my media kits, and so much more, you can click the link below. And if you're ready to start blogging today, you can use the code 50, FIFTY, all in capital letters, for a massive 15% off my course today. I hope to see you over there. Hello everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of 50 Shades of Motherhood. This week I am talking again to my lovely friend Katie Mason, aka Coach Katie on Instagram, and we're going to be talking all about firsts after having a baby. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello everybody, and welcome to 50 Shades of Motherhood. Today we are talking all about first after having a baby, however that baby came out. So Katie, there's a lot to talk about when we come to first, isn't there?
There is, yeah. It's just like it's a bizarre scenario, isn't it? After you've had a baby, because you're like you don't know exactly how things are going to go, how the recovery is going to go, and everything that you do for the first time is a bit of a trial and error, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. And it's like, I mean, you're so nervous in the lead up to kind of having a baby. I mean, we both spoke about the C-section last time and our own experiences, and we were both nervous about the operation type part. And you're only ever really seeing to then, aren't you?
Exactly. That's the finish line, isn't it?
Yeah. And then it's like you get home. I mean, even the drive home. I mean, that is a challenge after a C-section. Anyway, I'm not sure what it's like after a vaginal birth, really, properly. What was that like? You know, when you injured down there, is that awful getting in the car?
Yeah, sitting down. I think if you've had an episiotomy, I mean, I'm sure everybody is a bit battered and bruised afterwards, aren't
Mm,
they? But
mm.
especially if you've got stitches or you've had an episiotomy, sitting down is just not, it's not doable. So you end up kind of perched on the edge of one bum cheek, leaning inwards, just to take the
Oh,
pressure off. I
yeah.
really think I should have invested in one of those inflatable rings,
That's what
that
I've heard
old
about
school.
those.
Yeah, I didn't do it, but it's probably a very good idea, to be honest.
Yeah, so definitely just to cover your own backs in case you end up with an episiotomy. I'm glad
Yeah,
I said that word. I was actually thinking, as I was thinking about the word, I was thinking, is that going to come out right? And it did. Anyway, I
yeah,
didn't need to tell you that. So,
yeah,
but yeah, so there is loads of firsts. I mean, if we go back to just straight after having a baby, even through the
yes.
C-section side of things, the first for me that were quite tricky was that walk to, because you
Yeah.
have to do a wee, don't you, before you're allowed home.
Well, this is why I ended up in hospital for 3 days.
Oh God,
Did I tell
yeah.
you? Did I tell you what
Yeah.
happened? So, because my C-section was first early in the morning, I was all done and up on the ward by 9:45 a.m. and you have a catheter in, don't you, after you've had a C-section?
Yeah.
So the catheter's there to obviously drain your urine whilst your epidural and everything else wears off, to make sure, your bladder doesn't overfill, because you can't really feel things, can you?
Just to
Um,
let everybody know, Katie's probably rocking
yeah,
plain
because
every.
I'm like on a boat
I
or something.
know. Well,
No,
yeah.
I have my baby at the side of me, and I'm just trying to make sure he doesn't wake up.
Yeah, just
14 weeks old, so the routine's a little bit hit and miss still at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah. You
Um, so yeah, I'll stop rocking now.
no,
I
sorry.
end up
I mean, to
praying
people,
when
they
I'm
might
having
have
to hold
wondered
the
what if you
child.
were doing something else. That's what I'm
Yeah,
worried about.
yeah, let's clear that up. No.
Yeah,
Yeah, do you not find that you end up swaying even when you're not holding the baby? You're
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
I put the baby down and I'm still swaying. I
I
look like
know.
an insane person.
It is. No, I know what you
Um,
mean. So
yeah, so
yeah, go on.
the catheter, I think, is it after something like, God, I'm just plucking a number out of thin air, but it's something like 15 hours, 12
Yeah.
hours, say
Oh
12
yeah.
hours. After 12 hours, they remove it. And then you've got, I think, 9 hours to do your first wee after the catheter's been removed. So after 9 hours, if you haven't done your first wee and your bladder's working properly, then they put the catheter back in, and you have to keep it in for 3 days. So when I had my C-section early, I was like, you kind of like on adrenaline, aren't you? I think
Mm,
some of the pain relief, everything else, you've got your new baby, you don't think about sleeping straight after. It takes like several hours for you to come down, doesn't it?
yeah.
So it got to like 11 p.m. and there was one other lady on the ward. There was me and her. It'd been so calm and peaceful all day. I'd had my visitors, my son had come, etc. And I was like, oh, they dimmed the lights, and I was like, perfect, baby's settled, I'm ready to sleep off. I've been up early. And within 20 minutes, my eyes were just closing. This new lady came onto the ward, and she'd obviously just had a vaginal birth. She was hyped up to the nines, and all the lights went back on in the cubicle
Yeah.
next to me. She was FaceTiming all the family. She was telling a birth story to the midwife. She was, this lady was like, it was morning to her. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
Jesus. So I basically thought, give her moment. She's just given birth. So let me just I'm just going to have to lie here and wait for things to calm down. So I lay there, and basically this went on and on and on. And eventually it got to 5 a.m.
oh
And I
my
was
God.
still lying there trying to be polite and trying to give this lady her space, because you're on like a ward at the end of the day. Everybody's entitled to, so it got to 5 a.m. and I was literally crying. I was lying there crying. I was so tired, and I didn't want to be rude, but I pressed my buzzer. And like you said in the earlier episode, you don't want to press that buzzer because it honks down the whole corridor. It wakes up everyone in every room. It's
I
like a
know.
siren.
Yeah, it
So it's
is.
like, you don't want to press this thing just for a glass of water. So you try and cope the best you can, don't you?
Some
Just like,
people do. Some
yeah,
people just press it all the time. It's going off all night. When
yeah,
and similar situation to you, just while you touched on that, I had people across from me and they were ringing everybody on FaceTime. Now this was throughout the night, okay,
yeah.
and you get it to a certain extent, but then the ring, he's just done his second poo, just done
Yeah.
his second poo,
Oh
granddad,
yeah.
just done his
I've
second poo, and I thought,
burped.
really, yeah, oh, granddad, that was actually one. He's just
I got that
pooed.
one.
Oh my God, couldn't believe it. Honestly, I'm sorry if this is you, but when you have just been through the height of that, it's so hard to kind of get to sleep anyway, because your body is a bit in shock, really, from
Yeah,
what you've been through. And then,
yeah.
yeah, and those they were lovely, but it was just a bit. And then it was, oh, I feel dizzy. Oh, my scar's hurting. I thought, well, we've
Yeah,
all had
we've all
C-sections,
gone
so
through it in the last
yeah. Oh my
12 hours.
God. But then the
So,
buzzer was going constantly, constantly. Is this normal?
yeah,
Is this normal? I was like,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
God.
And I was there. I'd had my C-section, and I was leaning forward and picking my baby up myself. I didn't even want to ask anyone to pass him to me. But then it got to 5 a.m. and I was in tears, and I thought, I am exhausted. So basically, it was yeah, no, I'm trying to think of timings, right. Anyway, it doesn't matter the timing exactly, but I
Mm.
called the nurse in and I said, please, I've not slept a wink. Is there any way you could ask the lady next door, could she kindly turn a light off? Because I was the person separated just by one sheet of fabric between me and her. And then there was like the people on the other side weren't as close. There was like a corridor in between, a
Mm.
pathway. So I literally it was like the light was on me. It was like being under a spotlight. So I said, please would you ask her if she would mind turning it off so I can just get a couple of hours before, the day starts. Anyway, she said, well, I can't really. If she wants the light on, she can have it on. And I was like, oh, fair enough. But, maybe if you ask her, she'll understand. Anyway, she went in and said, would you mind? She chatted to her first for 10 minutes, by the way, didn't ask straight away. And then she said, would you like me to turn your light off for you? It didn't say, you're bothering somebody else. And the lady went, no, you're fine. I'll leave it on now. And I was literally like, Jesus Christ. So anyway, about 30 minutes after that had happened, I was due for my time up on having a wee.
Mm.
So I hadn't relaxed. I hadn't switched off. I hadn't slept. I'd been up for 24 hours nearly. And the lady got me out of bed and said, you need to go and do your wee, your time's up. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So I didn't even think I could stand up at this point. Shuffled so slowly to the bathroom, and you've got this catheter, haven't you, there dangling in between your legs. Everything feels really awkward and sore. And then I got to the toilet. Oh no, sorry, this was when she took the catheter out. Yeah, so I wasn't wasn't shuffling yet.
It feels like a blur sometimes, doesn't it? The after
Trying
bit.
to recall it all,
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I couldn't wee. I sat on the toilet, and I remember thinking, wee, come on, wee. And I was there another 30 seconds, and I knew there must be something in my bladder because this catheter had been out for 12 hours, and I'd been drinking loads of water. And I just couldn't let them muscles go. I just couldn't let them go. They were frozen. So I tried for ages. I knew what it meant. If I didn't do a wee, the catheter was going back in. Didn't want it back in because that means obviously you can't go home, or I didn't know what it meant at that point. So I had to go back, and they pulled out this machine and they scanned my bladder, and they said, no, there's loads of wee in there. Catheter's going back in.
Oh.
So I was really upset because I felt like if I'd had a good night's sleep and relaxed properly, then I would have done that wee. But because I didn't, the catheter went back in. I had to stay in all that day. They did give me the option in the evening to go home with the catheter bag attached to me, and I had to change it myself.
Oh.
But it got that late in the day, my medication, my pain relief, all that wasn't ready, and my partner said, I don't feel comfortable as going home rushed with this catheter and everything, and you've not slept. So kindly, a new nurse had come on by this point, and she said, I feel your pain. I'm going to put you in a side room. Go and get some sleep. So I said, great, I'll stay in overnight again then. That's fine. So I stayed in overnight. The second night, I did go home very late in the day with the catheter bag, which was interesting, and had to change that myself.
Oh. Where did you rest it? Like when you're in the car and stuff? How does that work?
It's strapped to your leg.
Oh, right. Okay.
You strap it to your leg. But
Right.
obviously, you've got a big bag of piss, excuse the language,
Yeah.
filling up on your leg.
Oh,
So,
God. Yeah.
so you can't really. I don't think I couldn't put trousers on. I had to go home in like a maxi dress type thing.
Yeah.
With this strapped to my leg. And then you've got when you sit down, if it pulls the wire, that's in your bladder. Do you know what I mean? So you're really, really scared about knocking this catheter out. So I literally went home, got a good night's sleep at home on the second night, and then I had to go back on the third day to do the wee test again. So this overlaps with another story that we've had a little bit of a laugh about, because as I got there, they took the catheter out. I had to wait for this wee to come, but I didn't feel like I needed a wee. I needed my first number 2.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
So I've heard the horror stories about the number 2, and I just thought, it can't be that bad. If you eat a good fibre, you eat your fibre, etc., etc., surely it can't be that painful. So, and I felt like in every other way, my stomach muscles were working. I could sit up. I know you're not supposed to be able to, but I could. So I thought maybe I'll be all right that way as well. So I went to go and collect this wee, because you've got to have something like 250 mils you've got to collect it to prove. You've got to take it out and go,
oh,
look,
yeah.
Wee. You've got
in that cardboard thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh no, oh no, I need a number two. But if I do the number two, I'm not going to be able to catch the wee.
Oh, yeah.
Which one do I
You
go
catch
for?
both.
I can't catch that and then prove that I've done a wee. That's just going to be a
Oh,
mess.
God. Yeah.
So I'm trying to hold the wee and think, hold the wee and do the number two. And then I thought, oh my God, I can't do the number two. But I really needed to. Like, I knew the pressure was there, it was hurting, and I needed to go. So in the end, can you believe it? I had to do the wee and lose it. I didn't catch the wee, trying to get the number two out.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. At
So
least
after
it
being
came.
3 days in the making, this 250 mils of wee went straight in the toilet. I was like, no.
Oh, my goodness.
How
Oh,
am I going to
yeah.
prove it? You might think I'm lying. How am I
What
going
did
to
you
prove it
how
to
did you
them?
find your first number two? Was it
So
actually
what?
okay?
No. So what happened from there? I was like on the toilet for 40 minutes. 40 minutes trying,
Oh, my goodness.
using my stomach muscles, everything else
Is this in the hospital? In the
in the
hospital?
hospital.
Them toilets as well, sometimes they look like there's been a murder in there sometimes. I don't know what it was
Yeah,
like when you don't know what you're gonna be greeted when you go in there with, do
well,
you, sometimes?
exactly.
Not the
I
most
mean,
comfortable place to sit.
yeah, it was quite clean and tidy, but I
Oh,
remember
that's good.
the door handle being rattled a few times. And I
Oh,
think I
yeah.
was in there that long. At one point, my partner came up and had to speak in the door and go, "Kay, are you all right?" And I was like,
Oh.
"No, I'm not.
And
I'm
we don't
not."
talk about poo, do we, with
No,
our
I'm
partners?
like you.
I
I
don't.
don't have that kind of relationship. I've never ever with any partner been comfortable to trump or talk about
Yeah.
that. It's not me.
No, it's not
So
me either. No.
I was there, and here I am telling everybody now this,
I
but
know, hopefully they won't listen to this.
well, you never know.
After
But, I was there for 40 minutes and I was in pain.
Yeah.
I mean it, I needed the toilet so bad. You know, when you need to go and you want it out your body,
Mm.
and I just couldn't get it out. So I had to leave the bathroom. I found this really nice midwife who'd been quite informative earlier that morning. And I said, look, I've lost the wee. I promise I did one, but I've lost it down the toilet and I'm in agony. I really need to do this number two. And actually, I turned out to be in the right place at the right time, because had that happened to me at home, I think it would have gone on for days, days.
Mm.
Like, and the pushing and the pressure is not good, is it?
No.
It's you get piles and after effects from
Mm.
being severely under strain down below. So this lady gave me, and I came home and I bought some straight away because you can buy it off Amazon, and it's called Medilax. And basically, it's like a pressery, a little tiny, it's not a pressery, it's like a little tiny tube of gel.
Mm.
And you just pop it up your bottom, squeeze it up. It
How
doesn't
far up
hurt.
do you have to like push it right up or
Not too far. There's like a
no?
little there's a very thin nozzle on the end, and you just insert that. It's non-invasive.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh my God, am I going to have to do that? I like you, I was like, put something up my bum. Are you
Oh
joking?
no,
Like,
yeah.
no, I wasn't up for it. But anything to relieve that pain at the time. And then in my head, if you have like a laxative, you're going to be like literally shitting everywhere.
Oh yeah, that's the worst. Yeah.
Uncontrollably for hours. That's what I pictured. I was
Yeah.
like, this is going to be a mess. Like, but she said, no, it will just release it. And obviously, I was breastfeeding, so you can't take oral medications. There's a lot of them aren't suitable, isn't there?
Mm.
But what this does, I'm going into detail now, but it works within your bottom, so it never enters your bloodstream. So
Oh.
this gel draws the water out of your poo, and then within 5 minutes, no longer, your poo, you just do one normally.
Just falls out.
Yeah, it's just like going to the toilet on an easy day,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so it's not like it doesn't last for hours after. It doesn't make it like runny or anything gross.
No.
You just go to the toilet. And I was like, I actually got in the bathroom. So I was that scared to do this. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to distract myself. She said I'd go within 5 minutes. So I'm gonna put a timer on. So I got my phone and I put the timer on. So I did this gel. I was like, okay, that wasn't too bad. Right, put the timer on. And I was like, I thought, I'm not sure. I thought, should I leave the bathroom and go back to my room? And then I thought, 5 minutes isn't that long. No, you better stay here.
Especially after a C-section. Because it
Yeah,
takes you 5 minutes longer than that to get to the bathroom, doesn't it?
exactly. Shuffling along.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stayed in the bathroom, and I think to this day, I can remember it was like 3 minutes 52 seconds, and I was like, oh, I need the toilet. And it resolved it instantly. I've actually recommended that since to some of my friends who just generally have severe hardship going to the loo generally, because it's a one-time thing. It just works for that one trip to the bathroom. It doesn't enter your bloodstream, and it's done and dusted. So it's just like
Done and
it's just
dusted.
it's
I
just
like
like
that.
it's just
Yeah.
a loo aid. It's so you know, like some people have to take laxatives and they take them the night before, and it takes 12
Yeah.
hours, and
And
they
you
don't know if
don't
they're
know
gonna go,
how bad it's going to be, do you? That's it. It's like,
or if they're going to go on the way to work,
oh my
or on
God.
the
I just
train.
picture shit everywhere. That's when someone says to me laxative, I think to myself, oh, I could just imagine like just being covered in
Shitstorm.
shit, just all over the place. And it puts me off. Like, I just would be terrified. So that wasn't like that. That was a good experience.
It was good. So when I got home, I straight away ordered some on Amazon, box of 4 tubes, and I think I needed to use one the following day and the day after that. And by the time I got, so you don't go to the loo, do you, for a number 2 for about 4 days
I
after you've had a
know.
C-section,
Yeah. Why
because
is that?
well, your intestines have been moved, haven't
Oh
they?
God, don't.
They like move. I could be wrong. I'm not a
Oh
doctor, am
no,
I?
but
But just based on what I think I heard at the time when I did a little bit of research before, they move everything, they separate it all to get to the baby in your uterus. And part of that is your organs all getting shoved to either
yeah.
side or wherever they're going to get shoved to. So they've been disturbed. So the normal passage of stools going through nice and easy is obviously a bit messed up for a while. Um, and then I suppose maybe, I don't know, like the day that you're having the operation, you don't really eat that much, you don't have breakfast,
No.
maybe those things
Well, the
affect it.
shock, your body's probably still in a bit of shock as well.
Yeah, the
Um,
epidural coming out of your system.
God,
So
yeah, it's I mean, that for me, I remember when I had to go and at home, I was at home and I knew it and it was coming. And you know when you just feel that pressure and you think, oh, and so I made it to the bathroom and I just sat there on the toilet. And we've got like a radiator, you know, one of them rail things that you hang the towels on, and I just held it. And I remember thinking that it won't work. So I got a towel. And honestly, I recommend this to anybody because you feel a bit disconnected from your bottom half, don't you, when you've had a C-section? A little bit like I felt
and you
like I wasn't really attached properly. Anyway, I could
yeah,
feel it coming. I felt like I needed to push, but you can't really push.
you're
So I
so
got,
scared of that scar, aren't you?
oh,
Like
you
bursting the
are.
scar open.
That's it. So I got a towel and I just pushed it against my C-section scar, and it almost like helped me push, if you know what I mean. And it came, and it was
Yeah.
actually okay. It wasn't that bad.
Oh, you weren't
Um,
as bad as me then.
no, I wasn't. That I remember. I don't remember it being that bad, but I have got an actual couple of stories actually, which while we're on the subject of poo, I think I'll read now. I think for these ones, this yeah, they're anonymous people. I'm just checking they didn't want their name mentioned.
Yeah.
Um, but let me just find it. I've got just a couple. So this particular person sent in saying, my first poo after having my third daughter by caesarean section was horrendous. It had been about 3 to 4 days and I hadn't had a poo. Oh, it had been 3 to 4 days. And for those that have had sections, know the pain of the recovery. And my muscles were not yet working as they should have. And there was no way I could easily push a poo out. I thought I had been savvy and got myself on laxatives pretty quickly. I was waiting for the point when your poo starts to turtle out of your bum. You know, when it starts to come out. So she was waiting till the last minute. Um, so that happened. And I was actually sat on the toilet for 45 minutes, hoping and praying that it would just free itself from my bum hole. And I had lost all hope. I was dripping with sweat and I'd been in every possible position that a post section your body would allow. So you can imagine this girl like,
It sounds the same as
I
me,
know it
honestly.
does. She says, but you know the pain of a section and nothing was easy. I tried squatting on the seat, standing up, letting gravity do its job, had one leg up. I even resorted to the horrifying prospect of trying to pry it out with my fingers.
Oh God.
It wouldn't come out. The sweat had gotten so bad, I was completely naked by this point. Bearing in mind, it was summer too. So I'm in my bathroom, naked, swollen fucking fingers up my arse, and I hear the door. The doorbell goes, and it's the midwife. My husband lets her in, and she asked for me. He said, "Yeah, she's upstairs. Just go up." He didn't know the carnage that was actually happening. I screamed like a banshee. "No, you can't come up," she said. She said it was fine and went into the living room. I think then, out of sheer fear that she would have to come up and see me like this and offer her assistance, that something took over me, and I was like making labor noises like a woman possessed by a demon, and I managed to get the fucker out. God, the noise of relief I made. I gave myself a few moments to compose myself, and then I went downstairs dripping with sweat. To be honest, there was no way of hiding it. She definitely heard the noises and the sigh of relief. I just said, "I've been up there trying to fucking poo for an hour." She laughed sympathetically and said, "Don't worry, it happens." Thank God she didn't actually see what happened, because I'm pretty sure that's not what happens. Anyway, that's my poo story. I hope you like it. That one. The thing
That's
is,
brilliant.
it made me laugh so much, and then we had another short one in, and this lady said that basically she just could not poo. It was just frozen in her arse
Yeah.
and she could not get it out. And we also had another lady that actually was similar to the lady that just shared that story, but she actually had to get a partner to come in and have a look if it was turtling. So that is where we're up
That's
to.
that's a couple that are comfortable with poo stories,
I know,
isn't it?
and
Like,
sometimes you wish you
yeah,
were.
yeah,
Sometimes it would
anything
be
like
so good because you could just say, "Look, is it coming out?" But I just could not do that. Anyway, so that's the poo
it
side of
sounds like
things.
it's quite similar for everyone then, doesn't it?
It does really, it does,
So
and it is, and I think getting things in advance like that useful stuff that you've mentioned, if people actually
yeah,
get that in advance, then
yeah.
hopefully the poo can slide out nicely, you know?
Yeah, maybe I've stumbled across a little gem there by accident. Just if I, like I said, I'd never known about it if I hadn't been back at hospital when it hit, when that moment that lady got stuck in her bathroom naked. That was me in a hospital bathroom. So had I
Yeah.
not had that midwife right outside the door to help me, I would have been in there probably all day. I
Oh,
don't
it's
think I could have done it
awful.
on my own.
No, it's awful. I mean, I do think they are naturally harder, the poos, after that time,
Well,
because
it's
that's why it takes so
worth
long.
4 days worth of food, isn't
I
it? That's
know,
been
4
sat there.
days.
So yeah, it can't be good.
No,
So,
and have you got any, obviously in your area of expertise, fitness, health, any recommendations food-wise, what people should be having after a
well, like I said
C-section happening?
earlier, I think this type of constipation isn't always avoidable. It's down to the operation.
Mm,
But in general, if you were trying to avoid it, you'd have a high fiber diet. So you'd go for whole grains, brown bread. You'd eat lots of green leafy vegetables like spinach, broccoli, that type of thing, fruits, apples, etc. Prunes, fresh orange juice, pineapple juice, all those things are going to help, keep your system moving. And also making sure you're not dehydrated, because if you've got a lack of water in your body, there's going to be a lack of water in your stools, which is going to make it harder to pass. So, um,
What's the
also,
recommendation for the amount of water for a woman that they should be drinking anyway? Because I know I don't drink enough. Look at me. This is my second day of this. But
yeah, good. That's what you
yeah,
need, something to put it in
yeah.
front of you so you don't forget to drink.
It's actually got the times down the bottom as well. So like I'm quite competitive, so like I have to win. So if I look and it's a certain time, I have to drink to that time, because
Yeah,
otherwise
even
it
if you
can.
really aren't thirsty, just get it down
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah.
Yeah. I always say just have a bottle of water visible in your eye line, because you don't always realise you're thirsty. And if you just glimpse it, you think, yeah, I fancy a sip of that. And you do drink a hell of a lot more. When you're recovering from any surgery, you need to stay well hydrated, because obviously that helps with all your bodily functions and recovery itself. So you're recovering from surgery. You're also potentially, some ladies might be breastfeeding. Now, when you're breastfeeding, you'll know especially in the early days, the baby goes to your boob and starts sucking, and instantly your mouth goes dry. It's like all the water from your body's gone to your boob,
Oh
and
gosh,
you're
of course.
gasping with thirst. Now, that's at the start, you can't help but drink. As soon as you're feeding, you're like, can someone pass me a glass of water? And that's one tip I'd give to anybody who visits somebody who's just had a baby, or the partner of someone who's just had a baby. Just constantly say, would you like some water? Especially if they're stuck with a baby on the boob, pass them the glass, because it could be 2 meters away and you're looking at it but you can't reach for it, and that's a nightmare. So
Wow, yeah, I didn't even think about that. I've not breastfed, so like
yeah,
I wouldn't even know that. That was a
yeah,
oh wow, right,
it
okay,
makes you
yeah.
so parched. So yeah, I mean, normally I would aim for 2 liters of water a day, and then an extra 500 mils if I do a workout, so 2.5 liters. But I mean, you can drink. I would say two liters is a minimum, up to say 3 to 4 liters for a woman if you want to stay well hydrated. Obviously, 4 liters is a lot, and you need to make sure that you're not drinking too close to bedtime, because you'll just be up peeing in the night. So I
Yeah.
would say try and get that water in up until your evening meal, and then maybe after your evening meal, just little sips, and maybe a herbal tea or something like that.
Are you looking for local pregnancy to preschool groups, classes, and lessons to go to with your children? If that's the case, head over to www.mybump2baby.com, where you can find the latest groups and classes in your local area. As well as that, if you are looking for financial advice, family law advice, or a local estate agent, you can also access our family protection and legal directory, www.mybumptobaby.com/family protection legal. That's great.
Um,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
can include herbal teas. I like to have hot water with lemon and ginger in the morning to wake me up, freshen my tummy up, and flush everything through. And all of that sort of stuff you can include in your water intake. What you can't include is tea and coffee, because the caffeine dehydrates you. So for actually every cup of tea or coffee that you have, you need to have an extra glass of water to balance it out. So
So ages ago, I'd have needed then 18 cups of water plus the 2 litres.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't achievable, was it?
I'd have drowned. Yeah. No, that's great. That's really good advice. So going back to first then, also, I mean, something that I thought was quite an experience is, when do you actually do it for the first time? A lot of people kind of, you don't know when the right time is to do it,
No,
do you?
and
Because you never
you
feel
Google it.
fully ready to do it. I had to
Yeah,
go 9 whole months almost. In fact, no, it was from, that's an exaggeration. It was from when I found out my cervix was short.
yeah.
And I love sex. And I went from,
Make no mystery of it, do you? It's no
no, it
secret.
isn't. I mean, to be honest, with children, it's obviously a lot less than what it used to be, but I do love it. But from week 20, I couldn't have
Yeah,
sex because I had that
you
short cervix. I couldn't have anything going in
banned,
there. Oh my
completely
God,
banned.
it was
I bet that
awful.
made it worse, didn't
It
it? Knowing
did.
that you weren't allowed.
And also during pregnancy, I was so much more, I
Oh
think it's the
yeah,
blood flowing. That's what they say. The blood
yeah.
flows, and I was
It's your
so
hormones.
horny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your hormones, and also I think the pressure of maybe the baby pushing down.
Oh, yeah.
It does. You do feel like
Oh,
you
yeah.
need to carry on right until the end.
Yeah, and I mean, that was one of the things when I saw my consultant, and she was like, "I can't believe you've actually made it to, like," I think at that point I was about 35 weeks pregnant, which was a shocking fact, seeing as though I hadn't had the stitch. So they
Yeah,
were really shocked. And she said, "Right, so in 2 weeks you can come off the progesterone." And then I think I had to take the aspirin up to a few days before the C-section, but she said you can come off that. And I said, great. And I said, does that mean I can start having sex? And she was like, no. I thought, fuck's sake. I was so annoyed. But I don't think, I mean, for Danny, bless him, I mean, because I was heavily pregnant, it's really hard to kind of put yourself in the right position anyway. Because I had the similar thing with George, really, when I was pregnant with him. I couldn't do it then either. And it's so frustrating. I mean, we got
yeah,
married when I was 6 months pregnant, and we couldn't even do it, you know, like,
Oh
you
God.
couldn't
Yeah,
do
you
it.
get down by the end of the pregnancy, you're down to one position. There's one position,
Yeah,
that's like the spoon
yeah,
position where your
yeah,
belly's safely out the way, resting on a
yeah,
pillow.
and you can almost pretend like the baby's over there, it's okay, because it is a bit you have to really get your mind away from the fact that there's a baby in there, don't you really?
Yeah, I think
It's
that's harder for men than
yeah,
women, like, because you it's your body and you know kind of what your limits are, whereas men, I think they're like, "Oh, no, am I poking,
oh,
the
no,
baby in the
yeah,
side of his
yeah,
head?"
they're
No,
like, "No,
it's safe.
no."
Yeah,
That's it.
but it is
It is,
allowed and it is safe, obviously,
yeah.
in the majority. Yours is an extreme circumstance, wasn't it? But in the
Oh,
majority of circumstances, you can,
yeah,
as
you
long as
can.
you feel comfortable, you can carry on to the end, can't
Yeah,
you?
and even people say, you know, if you wanna kinda labour, you do it in
Bring it
that time.
on.
Bring it on, literally. Yeah, so, with George, me and Danny, because 'cause we'd not been together that long, I suppose, when I got pregnant with George, maybe, just short of it was it just short of a year or maybe a bit longer? I can't remember. Um,
It was a whirlwind love
it was. We
romance,
were
wasn't
engaged
it?
after 6 months, and I was pregnant by 9 months, I think. I think that was it. Is that
Yeah,
right? Yeah, that's about
yeah.
right. Anyway,
You'd already decided you were gonna marry him, so that was,
yeah,
a
yeah,
good it went in the
it
right
worked.
order,
It
didn't
worked
it?
out well. We're still married, so that's
Yeah.
good. It worked well. So basically, with George, when I'd had him, because we'd gone that long after the C-section, I was like, right, let's do it. A week after, oh my god, I
Was that
got
a
I
mistake?
ended up getting an infection in my C-section scar
I
because
did.
of doing it. I think
Um,
what had happened is the position we chose just didn't really, it was rubbing on there. And
yeah,
then
it wasn't the
anyway,
right
so I
thing.
got an infection, had to go to the
Mm.
doctors. It feels dead hot inside, doesn't it? And it's
Yeah,
had to go to the doctors, got antibiotics, and then I did it again, got another infection. I thought this just isn't working. So
literally.
this time I waited. I waited a long time, not too long,
Yeah,
but until everything felt ready really, and that
yeah.
was much better. But they say after a vaginal birth, I mean, imagine after your first
Oh,
situation,
yeah, that couldn't have happened.
how
But
long
you
roughly?
are kind of, like, you are kind of thinking, "Oh, right, could I do it? Could it be yet? Could it be yet?" For
Yeah.
me, I wanted to, like, get back to normal as soon as possible. I think for the vaginal one, I had to wait the 6 weeks for everything to heal
Did you feel
because
okay down there doing that? I mean, not that we want to talk about it too much because obviously it's a different kind of
I think
time.
you know what? You've just got to go easy, haven't you? And just, if you feel like you want to, then you've got to just explore it and go very easy and just see, do I feel
Lube
okay
up.
afterwards?
I say lube up as well because I was really dry afterwards, and I don't know why. I don't know why. It might be the trauma. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
It might be just the contrast because it's the opposite whilst you're pregnant, isn't it? Maybe
yeah,
it's just such a contrast for you, like, "This is different."
yeah, maybe actually you're
Hormonal
right.
changes,
It
the
definitely
hormonal
is.
changes will have an impact.
Yeah, so I was nervous about that. I think nerves as well, when you're doing it for the first time, it's been so long, you get a
Yeah.
bit nervous, don't you? So it's like, "Oh god, right,
Yeah.
what's gonna happen?" You know, "What can I
Yeah.
expect?"
I was fine after 3 weeks with the C-section, I was fine, but I didn't think to ask anyone. No one really said to me when it's okay. I had in the back of my mind, everything's sort of all right after 6 weeks, but at 3 weeks, I was like, "Yeah, it'll be all right. We'll
Yeah.
be fine." And then I remember afterwards Connor being like, should we have done that? I'm just gonna Google it." And he Googled it and it was like, "No, you must not
I
until
think
6
it's because your
weeks."
insides are healing still, that's what they
Yeah,
say, don't they? So,
yeah,
obviously speak to your doctor and make sure, you know,
yeah,
you
don't go off what I
can
just
do,
said.
"Excuse me, doctor, I'm allowed to shag my husband now," you know? But that's the thing, you just don't know when the right time is, do you?
No, I think it's down to each person as well. We all heal at different rates, and everybody's like, comfortable at a different point in time after the surgery or the birth, aren't they?
Yeah,
But I do think one thing is not to overthink it, especially if you pass the 6 week point, not to be like, oh, I think just, try. And if you're happy to try. And
yeah,
if it doesn't feel right, and the doctor said you're okay to try and you've tried and it's not right for you, then wait a little bit longer.
yeah,
Maybe give it a fortnight and then try again.
mm,
But I think if you leave it ages because you think, like, say if you leave it months and months and months, then, like, I don't know whether the moment might be lost in the sleepless nights, the stress of having a newborn, the stress of, there is stress upon your relationship when
Yeah.
both of you are tired. So the longer that goes on for, if you haven't done it yet, I think it would be tempting for some people to just be like, oh, I'm off sex, can't be asked.
Yeah.
And the
I
moment's
know.
gone.
And that's the thing, when you are really tired, a lot of the time it is the last thing on your mind,
Yeah.
like, and you're busy and you've got your family to sort out and you're healing. It can get to that point where it's been a while, and that can happen. And I remember when we first had George, actually, it can, unless you kind of, I had to schedule it in basically,
Yeah.
because I know it sounds really bizarre, but I had to say, right, Wednesdays and Sundays, and that's it. Like, that's it. That's the times.
And
So I
that's
wear my good
you. That's
underwear.
you who normally can't go without.
No, and honestly, as I think as time's gone on, when you've got a family, you can't just be at it, all the time. And to be honest, there's a lot of other things on your mind, isn't there? You're not
Sleep.
sleep exactly, and
The thing
all of
is, you're
those
so
things.
tired when you get to bed, aren't you? You're so
Mm.
tired when you go to bed that you're like, right, there's a window. I need to
Oh,
sleep. I need to be asleep within 2 minutes to like
yeah,
maximize this window. And then you get woken up by your children. So when do you do
yeah.
the Sunday morning lie-in that you get before children? You
You
don't, do
don't.
you?
No, you don't. And it's not putting too much pressure on yourself, really, comparing yourself to other people, because everybody's different. So your friend might be saying, oh, we do it, this many times a week. And sometimes you can think, oh my God, why don't we? But it's just, sometimes you'll do it more, sometimes you'll do it less. And that's
And I
just,
think if you're finding it really hard to fit it in, like there's no time, then it is worth thinking about, maybe asking the in-laws or, your parents, anyone or a friend to babysit,
excuse me, Dad, will you babysit so we can get at it? just
Yeah.
just just need 5 minutes.
Just call it a date night. I'm sure they'll
Yeah.
appreciate not knowing the gory details.
Oh
But
God.
even if that has to be a Saturday afternoon, if you can't get
Yeah.
babysitting in the evening, if it has to be a Saturday afternoon and like,
Mm.
go for lunch or then
Date. Actually,
yeah,
date.
have a date or make a nice dinner and have a glass of wine or whatever
Yeah.
because sometimes you need to reconnect with each other first. Otherwise, you don't feel like it, do you? You
No,
need
you're
that
right.
moment where that's your partner, you're attracted to each other and it feels right. Whereas, if you've not washed your hair for 5 days and you've got 4 minutes
You've
spare,
got food in your hair, a bit of sick on your shoulder.
yeah, you're probably thinking about loading the dishwasher.
Yeah.
You're not in the right
Yeah.
frame of mind, are you?
No, you're so right, because sometimes it can seem like the perfect time just to kind of get it in. But then at the same time, you do have to date, don't you? And we actually had a conversation a little while ago, because I said, because I don't know whether it's since lockdown, but everyone seems to be in a bit more, don't they? In the houses
Yeah.
a bit more. And I enjoy being home. But I said to Danny, we need to kind of cook a nice meal for each other now and again. Like, and he said, yeah, but I make salmon like on a Monday, like kind of. And I was thinking,
That's my,
no,
you see it as a chore, the cooking bit.
yeah,
Yeah, gotta hate
he,
cooking.
no, but he was like almost saying, well, I do cook, because he does help out a lot around the house. See, I'm quite lucky in that respect. So he does do it in that way. But what I meant as in like a real thought, like a starter, a main,
Yes,
dessert, an extra
yeah,
dessert, But and we started doing that actually, and it's been really nice, just
yeah,
actually spending that time together, just doing those little bits, because it's so easy just to get caught up or just be scrolling on your phone and stuff,
yeah.
you
Date
know.
nights definitely work. Me and Connor have always done a date night on a Friday night. And before we had Clay, sometimes we'd go for a meal, or sometimes I'd make, like you say, a 3-course meal. Occasionally Connor did it, and he doesn't
Yeah.
like cooking, but that was for my sake,
Oh.
which I appreciate. And we'd get a nice bottle of something to share, like, a nice fizz or something.
Oh.
And then you've got the evening to yourselves. But when you've got a newborn baby in the mix, the date night isn't quite the same. We
No.
try still, but we get a takeaway now. I try and get like a takeaway that I enjoy, that's quite healthy,
Mm.
that doesn't make me feel sluggish and everything
What
afterwards.
do you go for?
Thai is my current
Yeah,
go-to,
I love
actually.
yeah, I love Thai.
There's a new one near us, and it's if you can find one where it's really fresh and light, then you feel like I'd have cooked that myself if I could be
Yeah.
bothered, if I had the time.
And you can have sex after it, because sometimes I fill myself up so much on takeaways that afterwards I actually feel like,
There's no chance.
no, I ain't
Yeah.
moving. I can't be this, this, porn star, if you like. I can't do it
The
because I
stockings
can't.
aren't coming out after
No,
a pizza and a
no,
side of
definitely
veggies.
not. Honestly, that's it exactly. So I've been liking Thai, not for that reason, but I do actually. I've started liking it more because last time I went for a Chinese. Sorry to go off the tangent here, off on a tangent, but last time I had Chinese, I found it really kind of sugary. Really,
Well, it's got a lot of different additives, Chinese. If I have Chinese and alcohol together, so even if I just have one glass of wine with a Chinese, I go to bed, I wake up at 3 to 4 a.m. and I'm up all night, wide awake. I just get
all
no sleep
right,
after it.
so
Well, I think
weird.
it's the MSG, I think, that they put into Chinese. You can ask for it without. Some Chinese restaurants will leave it out, but MSG just messes with you, doesn't it? It
I
makes you
didn't. What is
retain.
that?
It's just like it's something that they add to the food to enhance the flavor, but it's
Ah,
like it's same as like an E number or a preservative. It's just not good for you. And I think the next day your face swells up, you retain a load of water. Obviously, there's a lot of salt in the food. So I just the next day after I've had a Chinese, I look like a puffer fish. Like my face has doubled in size. It's not worth it for me to look in the mirror and see that for the taste of
no.
the
I was
Chinese.
actually thinking. I was looking in the mirror these last few days, thinking, God, I look like my face is dead puffy. And do you know what I've been having? Takeaways.
Have
So
you?
you know
Yeah,
what? I didn't know that. So I'm gonna
yeah.
I'm gonna have a look at that.
It's
But
the extra carbs and the salt, because
ah,
the portions of carbs in a takeaway is a lot higher than what you'd feed yourself normally, isn't it? Like a
yeah.
full portion of noodles or a full pizza, it's a lot of carbs. And carbs draw muscle, muscle. Carbs draw water into the muscle, so it makes you, if there's too many carbs, you overspill, and there's too much water in your body, and you look like a puffer fish, which
Oh
is a
wow.
gross way to feel.
Yeah, yeah. When you feel like that, yeah, you don't want to feel like that. So
No.
other first, Katie, then, while we're on the subject, so we've talked about first poo, first sex, and stuff like that. But what about the first kind of time you're returning to normal after your partner goes back to work? Like
Yeah.
your first time alone with the baby, and
Yes. It's challenging, isn't it?
yeah,
Because you've got 4 hands available for this one baby well, my partner took 2 weeks paternity.
yeah,
If you're in that situation where your partner can have paternity whilst you're off, I mean, after a C-section, you need it, don't you? Just
mm,
someone to be there to help. I think in that 2 weeks, he left the house and left me on my own, maybe for a couple of hours, like go to the supermarket or something, maybe twice. And that was kind of like a little trial run. I remember it was probably the first time was probably after a week, and me
mm,
thinking, right, okay, yeah, I can do this on my own. And he was great. He did all the tidying up, he put all the washing in, he emptied all the nappy bins. I didn't do anything really for that first 2 weeks apart from recover and look after the baby. And I think towards the end of the 2 weeks, we maybe went for a little short walk, and I didn't push the pram or anything. I just,
mm,
we just walked somewhere, and it was nice to have that company. And then when he was gone, I was like, oh my God, baby,
yeah.
feeding, washing. Like,
Oh no.
you've got to think to yourself, right, what's the priority? My baby being looked after, fed, nappy changed, me being fed, dressed. If I can get a shower in, brilliant. If the house falls apart a little bit for a few weeks, it's not the end of the world, is it?
No, I was thinking then when you were talking a few weeks, Olivia's nearly a year old. And
Yeah,
it's when you're looking around, you just feel guilty, don't you?
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
do. I feel guilty sometimes if I'm off and like I've got Olivia and things aren't done. Because in
yeah.
my head, I'm like, I know they need doing and I should be doing them. I don't know why, but
No, it
now I've
is.
started outsourcing a lot, to be honest with you. And that actually makes me feel a lot better. So,
Yeah,
everyone
you're
chooses where they,
organising it and it's getting
yeah,
done.
because my mind doesn't work very well in a sense of it's not. very logical in, I'll load the washing machine, but I'll forget to turn it on, and I'll open the dishwasher, start emptying it, not finish it. I do half things. I'm not
Yeah.
very good at all these. Obviously, these are things that I do each day, but where I can, and what I've done is I've actually started kind of getting help, and
Yeah.
like a cleaner, someone to do the ironing.
Yeah.
All those little bits, that a gardener, all the things that you don't really want to do, but
Yeah.
you just
And
do
if you
it.
can, and if you can afford to do it, and if so, I used to rationalize it like, okay, what do I charge an hour when I'm PTing? Okay,
Yeah.
so could I afford then to work for an extra 2 hours and have somebody come in and clean my house once a week?
Yeah.
Yes, and you can
Yeah.
just push yourself that little bit harder with your own work if that's covering things that you don't enjoy doing.
Yeah, and even if, say you are on maternity leave, and things are a little bit tight, but you could really do with the help. What you can do is you can look at your bank statement and just see, like, what do I actually pay out? Sometimes, if looking at your actual bank statement, seeing what you pay for, sometimes you think, oh, I didn't know I even still was paying for that, or that gym membership, and I'm
Subscriptions.
not going to go there for a good, few months. I may as well cancel that for now, and things like that. And you can narrow things down that way sometimes as well, can't you? But
Yeah, you're
sometimes you've got
absolutely right.
family members. Sometimes parents are desperate to help in any way. So instead of
Well,
giving them the baby, give them a dustpan and brush.
yeah, but on saying that though, for me, if someone came round and watched the baby whilst I got some jobs done, that was really, really useful. And
Yeah.
people don't realise, do they, to offer it,
No.
because you are, like you said, I can totally sympathise. You're looking at the mess, you know that you need to do it, or the little jobs that need doing, but you're holding a baby. You can't do things with one hand. Your baby doesn't want to go down, it cry, whatever's going on. You said something really poignant to me actually the other week, and you said maternity leave. I didn't go on maternity leave to be a cleaner and a housewife. I've got a job. I'm on maternity leave to look
Mm.
after my baby,
Yeah.
because I've had a baby. And I think the line becomes really blurred, doesn't it? That when someone's on maternity leave, they should suddenly become super housewife
Oh,
and, the house is immaculate, everything's done, and
mm.
you've got this massive sense of guilt when your partner gets home from work if you haven't done everything.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh God, he's going to think he's been at work all day, and I've just sat with a cup of tea watching soaps,
I
and
know.
I haven't.
And that's it. And I think sometimes that can cause an atmosphere, because I feel guilty that and he's not said anything, he's not implied anything, he's quite happy, but I feel guilty. So then I'm almost like a bit, well, yeah, what's the problem? Like a
Yeah,
bit almost
yeah,
like, you know,
yeah. It's so
um,
easy to become a little bit like not resentful, but you can be, to feel like, well, you could help me with that now you're home from work.
yeah, I
And they're
know,
thinking, well, I've been at work all day. Why should I have
I
to do that?
know.
And you've got to pull together, haven't you?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
not
and it's
blame each
talking
other
about
kind of thing.
things, because with George, after George, I had postnatal depression, which I've told you about. Well, obviously I've told you about, but I've told you all about it. And that time, I just felt like I was having a bad day every day. It's like a
Yeah,
grey cloud over me every day. And what I was doing was actually not communicating. And I think that's a big thing, because I'd be like dressing George or something. It's okay, George, don't worry, I'll do this. Yes. Oh, you've had a naughty, you've got a bad nappy, I'll sort that. Oh, I'll make tea as well while I'm at it. Just speaking dead loudly.
and you get the monologue in your head as well, don't you? In your
Mm,
head, you're thinking, great, I'll do this, even though I've not
I
slept all
know, I
night.
know. Because you don't
Winding
want to
yourself
say it.
up.
And actually, sometimes just having a conversation with your partner and saying, I'm struggling, this is why, a lot of the time, well, most of the time, they're more than happy to help. And I
Yeah,
think last time I wasn't really communicating that I needed help sometimes when I was in that frame of mind. I think when you become a mum for the first time, it's so shocking.
yeah,
Like, it really is. Like, this second time, I found it a lot smoother because I knew what to expect. And
yeah,
you're already in a bit of a routine with having a child before, aren't you? You're already
yeah,
a bit tied, if you like,
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas before having your first, you're so free, aren't you? You're free.
You don't realize, you think if you've got a job and a regular bedtime, then you don't realize how much freedom you've got within that, because if you're a bit tired or run down, you have a lie in at the
Oh,
weekend.
yeah.
Or you go to bed early. Well, you can't go to bed early if your child still needs bathing and there's jobs to do around the house. You end up going to bed later than you normally would and getting up earlier, even though you're having disrupted sleep. You just don't have that freedom to please yourself and look after yourself quite as well as you can when you've got no ties.
No, I know, that's it. Exactly that, really. It's really hard to kind of balance everything. And also it is important for you to have like a bit of a self-care night or do something for yourself as well, because what I used to do, and I don't know why I don't do it now, I think it was when I was releasing these podcasts every Wednesday, that was my night, that was my bath night, candles. I had like a little tray with my iPad on and I'd just chill out, and I wouldn't take my phone in there, and I loved it. And for some reason that stopped now. In fact, it's reminded me I need to get back to that, because it's so easy to just kind of keep going, isn't it? And just
but when you do that for yourself, I bet after that you're in a nice mood. You're more smiley and loving towards your husband. You're more prepared to like, oh, I'll do that. Can I help you with that? It does just reset you, doesn't it? It gives you a little bit of a spring back in your step. Mine at the moment is I've started running because I can't find the time. Well, find the time isn't right. I haven't got anyone to help me really, so I can go and do a full gym session like I normally would. So before Connor goes to work in the morning, whilst he's getting ready, he has the baby in the bouncer chair, takes him in the shower room. He's talking to him whilst he's having a shave, and I go for a run. And that clears my head so much. And I'm such a better person that day after I've done that, because I always function better if I do a bit of exercise. I find mentally that clears my head and I'm ready for whatever else I've got to do. So just finding that little bit of what it is, what it means to you to feel like you. And for me, that's doing a bit of exercise. I would love to have a bath every night as well, but that's, I can't have both.
I know. Well, that's it. And exercise. It's funny you say that, actually. I'm just looking out. Oh, Amazon's outside, so I might get disturbed in a second. But a lot of the things for me. Oh, what was I even talking about?
You said exercise.
Oh, exercise. Sorry. Since I've started doing a lot more exercise now, I've actually feel a lot better. For it mentally, like you said, it releases those positive endorphins, doesn't it?
It's a mood booster, 100%.
It really
even
is.
Somebody who doesn't enjoy it, starting simple and just going for a walk or something, it does
one
boost
moment.
your mood.
I'm sorry.
Right? Yes, I've got surfacing now as well.
What's that? Sorry.
I said I've got children surfacing now.
I know, right? So
I do well to squeeze a chat in. Don't we did. Time going on.
We did. So I think we'll leave it there, and I think the exercise thing would be a really good topic to talk about next time. And a bit of health boosting, ideas. And
I've definitely got some good tips for getting back to it. Obviously, when you've had a baby, it is on your mind that you want to get fit and healthy again. And for some people, like the whole body image side of things does weigh heavily on them. Obviously, it's not something you need to worry about, but if it is something you are worrying about, you want to be able to do it safely, don't you? So I'd love to share some tips with you, and also C-section scars, helping them heal along the way and things like that as well.
I think that would be great. Yeah, I think an episode on that next time would be fab. But I better. George is saying he's thirsty now, so I better.
You've got to put motherhood first.
I know. That's it. He needs one of these, doesn't he? Need to get him.
On definitely. Yeah, get him on the challenge. Drinking every hour, he'll never be thirsty again.
I know. That's it. Oh well, thank you so much for today, and thank you everybody for listening.
Yes. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of 50 Shades of Motherhood. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you are notified every single time our new episode goes live. If you have any funny stories that you want to share, any serious topics you want us to talk about, please send them in. You can contact us via Instagram. I'm at MyBumpToBaby on Instagram, and Katie is at Coach Katie with 2 Ks on Instagram. Look forward to speaking to you next time on 50 Shades of Motherhood.